I was actually supposed to give my presentation on something slightly different because my department at the University of Utah has been working on some scenario planning software, and I wanted to do a comparison looking at different parking regulations. Unfortunately, that software is not yet ready for the public, as I found out when it didn't produce any numbers. So I'm doing a presentation that I put together for a class on Jeff Speck's step 4 from Walkable City, which I know one of the things that's coming up is a discussion of what strong town's approach to transit should be. So I think Jeff Speck has some really great ideas. And he gets a lot of the ideas from this part of the book from Yona Freemark, who's a very well-read expert on public transportation in the U.S. And has done a lot of great things, which Jeff Speck's really good about going to the right sources. And he starts off the section saying that his big motivation for supporting transit was dating, because when he was young and single, he wanted to be able to get out of his own neighborhood and actually increase his dating pool. And he's very, very prophetic with this statement where he says, with rare exceptions, every transit trip begins and ends with a walk. As a result, while walkability benefits from good transit relies absolutely on walkability. And this has kind of been the state of transit in the U.S. For the last while, where transit is for the other people. And the Onion is our greatest news source and summed it up very well here. And even in areas of high density, public transportation cannot thrive in the absence of a neighborhood structure. So you need to have your neighborhoods built correctly and structured correctly in order for transit to work. And that was one of the big points that Jane Jacobs made. And what really matters is how many people live near a transit stop. They did a really good job with the bench and the shelter, but I wonder how many people actually take that station. One of the other things, this goes along with the neighborhood structure, that we don't want to have sprawl. We want to have the traditional development of nice gridded streets so that you don't have to walk a mile to actually reach the transit stop that's just over the fence. And he kind of points out, he really picks on Dallas in one section of this book, where he says it's really bad when you arrive at a transit station that's cost, billions of dollars to build, and there's a great big parking lot there. You really need to make sure that you get the investment right around your transit stations. And transit doesn't necessarily have to be this big monumental thing. It can be the simple little circulator buses that go around the downtown area to encourage people to get out shopping for Christmas. And he talks specifically about two types of transit that's very important. One is nodal, where you've got two very important, very strong centers that are connected by, in this case, a gondola at Telluride. And one of the others is corridor, where here we have the Portland streetcar, where you've got a corridor of several different locations that need to be connected by transit. And going further, talking about streetcars, Portland really is the poster child for the development that comes when you create a properly oriented streetcar system. And it's not so much about, one of the things he points out is that it's very important that the streetcar network connects to the larger transit system, which Portland definitely does. And there are a lot of neighborhoods that you really can't fix with transit because they're configured wrong. So you really have to look at putting your investment in the places where it can do the most good. And he points out 4 things that are very important. One is urbanity, and he says that riders should be able to fall into the bus from a stool at the coffee shop, that you really want to make sure you've got your stops and stations right in the middle of the action. Or, and if you've got obstacles like this, that it's really going to hurt your transit ridership. And you want your routes to be very straightforward and not confusing like that. And the next one, he talks about frequency, and the frequency of, in order for it to be successful, your frequency's got to be high. You want people to not even have to look at the schedule. So he really suggests that it's got to be 10-minute intervals, 10-minute headways in dense urban areas. And he also talks about the fact that transit should be a pleasure, and you want to make sure that there's comfortable seating and comfortable amenities, which, yeah, I really don't know what it's like in India to actually ride on top of a train. That would be an interesting experience, though. And he also gets into the debate over trains versus buses, which is one that I'm not really going to get into right now because it could go on and on. But it's, in the end, it's all about context. You've got to make sure that you're delivering the right solution to the problem. And in the end, he talks also about car sharing, which is very important for providing people with options. But it only really works well if you've already got dense, walkable areas that are served by transit. So you can't do car sharing in suburban sprawl. And finally, Jeff Speck actually met his wife on a train platform in the DC Metro. So it's something that's deeply personal to him because it definitely influenced his life. And that's all I've got.